Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we're looking at the latest track from Enter Shikari titled It Hurts. This is the second single to be released from their upcoming album A Kiss for the Whole World. We've already got a chance to hear Please Set Me On Fire and I was very impressed with that track. There was lots of really cool elements being thrown in there, very sporadic sounds, Chris really having more of an impact on the vocals, some real Zumba bass lines as well that was really interesting to see. It was great to see the band really pull it together and kind of have this serious messaging that they like to incorporate into a lot of their music. So I'm certainly very interested to see if this track will do the same. So will this track leave us with feelings of pain or joy? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds. Okay, a few things I'm already really enjoying with this track. First of all, just letting Rory be the sole instrument at the start, just really letting him control the flow of the track as we're eased into the song itself. And already we can see this track is going to revolve around the idea of failure. It hurts every time we fall. This idea that when something doesn't go your way, you kind of feel defeated and sad. And there's a couple of elements that are really showing this as well that I really do like they've thrown in already. Almost with the hurts, the fall, the worth that are coming, that repetition on that second one, it's almost like this long drawn out, and it's like a sigh. It's like when you're feeling very deflated. I like the fact they're just kind of hollowing out the note and then drawing out as well to kind of give off this effect of that kind of deflation. That's really, really smart that they've actually done on this. And also to keep it very melodic, they're using a beat pattern that is very common in a lot of dance music, which is great to see because it helps add a really strong flow to the track, even despite the fact that they are known for going for very scattered sounds and really just playing around with the pacing of tracks. I also like the idea they're touching on worth, because often when somebody fails at something, they feel like their value goes down, and it shouldn't be that way because failure is a natural part of being a human. So I kind of like they're throwing in the idea that your worth doesn't change at all if you do fail.
Pigeon steps, cause and effects. We hit another wall, take another fall. Retroflex. I can detect the high pressure. Failure isn't our treasure. It powers the future endeavor when we take on the world together.
I absolutely love the vocals from Chris there. Those much deeper tones, almost a bit like Dave Gahan of Depeche Mode really, just in those deep tones that he's got, but it really adds a lot more emotion to the actual track as well, as opposed to that more banter-esque kind of lyrical backing vocals that they used to go for. But they're kind of letting him take centre stage with this one. Rather than bouncing off behind Rao, they're just letting him really take to the forefront, which I think they did as well on Please Set Me On Fire, which was great to see. I like that they're really introducing him more with this album. A couple of things to touch on as well. Pigeon steps, I like that idea of very small steps. Compared to a human, that is very small steps. The idea of hitting another wall, taking another fall, great rhyming language that just really helps again add to the flow of this track. And I like the use of the word retroflex, which is a medical term for being effectively turned backwards. And the fact that they're tying it in with the next line, I can detect the high pressure. So you've got these ideas mixed in of kind of like some things that are very similar, so almost like blood pressure, things to do with the body. So I like they're really tying that in, and I like the idea of it powers the future endeavour. This idea that kind of you should be powered by your failures, you should be given more motivation, more drive. So they're really trying to press home the idea with this track. It feels that it's okay to fail, it's okay to kind of have a stumble and kind of have to occasionally take a step back. And the idea of with Chris going about, unless you fight the inevitable, you'll never know if it's yours. So a lot of people do give up at that first hurdle. They get that slight bit of defeat and then they really just give up on something and they don't really find out if they can actually break through that wall. And most of the time it is possible, but it may take more than one attempt. So I like they're touching on this idea in a very real world situation, in a real world way.
So let's fight it! Every time we fall, with your worth doesn't change at all. It hurts every time we fall.
I love we're going back to some of these heavier sounds. It's very reminiscent of some of the stuff we did get to hear on the Minesweep album, so I'm really glad that they're tying it in, even though we have got references to the Spark as well. And I don't really usually touch on the video, but I do like the fact with this, it's showing the different ways that you can be effectively led to failure. It can be things such as the wrong tools, the idea then of Chris being tied down, and just lots of these different things coming in, given the wrong tools as well, stuff being out of reach, as we can see, just not being able to reach the drum kit. So I like they're tying in a lot of these ideas also through the video as well as the actual music track itself, and it is great. It's very catchy as well. I like that they've made it so melodic in this particular part of the track. Certainly the chorus as well, it does have a really powerful flow to it that just certainly kind of makes the track hit that little bit harder.
Feeling frozen, forward motion. We hit another wall, take another fall, seize the moment. Disaster ain't predetermined, any more that love and learning. Even when cities are burning, I feel our strength returning. Unless you fight the inevitable, you'll never know if it truly was.
I'm actually really loving these transitions between the different parts of the track. I mean, we're seeing it through the actual little subtitles that you've got in the bottom left. The fact that he is effectively the interpreter in some of these moments where they're kind of switching the band to the idea of the light bulb being held. The fact that he's the spark, effectively kind of giving you this idea to try and break through that wall of failure. So the whole track really does tie together very, very well. Even with just some of the lyrics that really kind of help to promote that idea. They're not just talking about failure as a whole. They're talking about the fact of breaking through it. And I like they're doing that, not just kind of having that defeatist attitude. They're really showing through this track how you can go about really just kind of tackling it and kind of hitting through that wall that may be holding you back.
Every time we fall, but your love doesn't change at all.
It hurts every time we fall, but your worth doesn't change at all. It hurts every time we fall, but your worth doesn't change at all. Doesn't change at all.
Okay, one other thing I want to touch on from the video as well, the idea of kind of roll over and die. We saw that at the end, just everybody kind of being effectively killed off. And we saw it throughout the track as well, the idea that sometimes people feel like they can just, it's easier to roll over and die than actually try and pursue something. And it's something that I think has become more and more valid as time has gone on, because we often do see that people really just letting themselves be held back by the smallest of inconveniences. So a great track for the band to really hammer home that idea as well. And again, we could see this track tie in with these environmental ideas. The fact of we keep kind of failing and we keep kind of struggling to get past these targets that we are setting for kind of destroying our world. And you can see this idea of it's kind of killing people off because we're seeing a rise in global disasters. So there's always, in most songs, this really subtle undertone of kind of environmental issues. It's something that the band have done, and especially with the title of the album as well, A Kiss for the Whole World, they are tying a lot of that in. They did the same on Please Set Me on Fire. Although it's not really at the forefront of the track, you can definitely see that those ties are there, and the band have been very much advocates for this kind of thing, for the environmental change as well. So it's great to see that they're still kind of keeping those subtle undertones of it and having those links that you can make to that aspect, but obviously definitely a focus on really just kind of powering through failure, and a very upbeat, very catchy track, but great to see them incorporating some of those heavier elements as well. I was also really glad to see Chris really get to have more involvement and a bit of solo time with the vocals. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I love those deeper tones from him. I think it just adds a bit more power to that track, really. Just certainly did the same on Please Set Me on Fire, but it didn't feel like it was quite as emotive and quite tonal in that track, because it was more like he was playing off of Rao, whereas in this track it really felt like he was coming to the forefront and having his own moments. So I really did enjoy that. And another track that I'm really interested in, I'm just really curious to now see how the rest of the album is going to fill out, but we've already seen a couple of elements tying to different albums. This one definitely felt like it was more Minesweep era personally to me, so I'm really curious to see how the rest of of the album will sound going forward, and we hopefully do get to hear a couple more tracks before its release. So that will be everything for today's video, but as always, please feel free to let me know what your thoughts about this track in the comments section below. And if you want to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next audio analysis.